All right, so we're diving into something today that might make some guys, kind of squirm a little bit. We're talking
Mhm.
about age-related penis size changes.
Yes.
But we're not doing this for, like, laughs or anything. We really want to unpack the science and, figure out what's myth and what's reality.
Sure, sure.
It's like your cheat sheet for understanding what really happens down there, so to speak, as
Okay.
we get older. So where should we even begin with all this? I mean, there's so much information and misinformation out there.
Absolutely.
So we've got some sources here today, some medical websites, some expert articles, even a YouTube video from this pretty popular men's health channel,
Yeah, that's right.
just to give us a broad range of
A
perspectives.
good mix.
Yeah. So first things first, all our sources seem to agree that penis size is mostly determined by,
Genetics.
genetics
Yeah.
and, that testosterone surge during puberty.
Right. And we're talking reaching that maximum size usually by the early 20s.
Oh, so like when a guy's fully grown.
Yeah. Around 18 to 21, I think the Cosmetic Connection article mentioned specifically.
So, okay, so that's a good benchmark. So then what happens after that? I mean, we all know testosterone levels start to decline, right?
Well, they do, yeah. But it's not like a sudden drop-off. It's a gradual thing that happens over many years.
Okay, so it's more like a slow decline.
Yeah, more of a gentle slope.
Got it. But how does that actually affect penis size? Like, what's happening on a cellular level?
Well, testosterone plays a huge role in cell growth, especially in the tissues of the penis that are responsible for, elasticity and blood flow.
Right, right. So as those testosterone levels go down, those cells aren't as active.
Exactly. They become less, let's say, enthusiastic.
So the tissues might not be as full or firm.
Yeah, that's the general idea, which
Oh.
can contribute to a slight decrease in size over time.
Okay. And how much shrinkage are we talking about here? Like, is it noticeable?
Well, the Cosmetic Connection article, I think they mentioned an average reduction of 1 to 1.5 centimeters over a man's lifetime.
Okay, so not a huge amount.
Right. And remember, this is happening gradually over many years.
Mm-hmm. 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 So it's not like guys are waking up one day and suddenly things are drastically different.
No, not at all. It's a very slow process.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, I know there's this myth out there that, once you start shrinking, there's no going back.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one too.
That it's like permanent and irreversible. But the psychomastery video,
They debunked that, right?
they totally debunked it. They said
Mhm.
that's not necessarily true. So what makes it reversible then? Like, in what cases?
Well, it depends on the underlying cause. Like, if the perceived size change is because of weight gain, then losing that extra weight can make a difference,
Yeah, makes sense.
especially around the pubic area.
Okay, so sometimes it's not even about the penis itself shrinking.
It's about what's happening around it. Exactly.
Interesting. So weight loss could be a solution for some guys.
For some, definitely.
Yeah.
But then there are other things that can impact size too, like medical conditions.
Right. So it's not always as simple as just losing a few pounds.
Unfortunately not. Things like, diabetes, high cholesterol, any kind of vascular disease.
This can all affect things, huh?
Yeah, because they impact blood flow, which is crucial for, well, everything down there.
Yeah. Yeah, for everything to work properly.
Exactly. It's all connected.
And speaking of things being connected, did you know even some hair loss medications can have side effects related to penis size? I mean, that's wild.
It is. Some meds can interfere with blood flow or hormone levels, and that can, have some downstream effects.
Wow. So something seemingly unrelated?
hmm
Ugh.
But yeah, it can actually have an impact. It's always a good idea to talk to your doctor about any potential side effects, especially if you're noticing any changes.
Yeah, that's good advice. Always better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
And I guess we should also mention surgery too, right? Like certain procedures can sometimes affect things.
Yeah, for sure. Pelvic surgery, especially. Things like prostate removal. Sometimes those can lead to changes in size because of, nerve damage or scar tissue.
Wow, so it's a pretty complex issue.
It really is. And, it's important for men to have honest conversations with their doctors about all of this, about the risks, the potential outcomes.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, right?
Always.
So it sounds like we've got a lot to unpack here. It's not just about simple shrinkage, but a whole bunch of factors.
Yeah, it's a complicated interplay of things, internal and external.
Right. And I think before we move on to the more emotional side of things.
Like the psychological impact.
Yeah, exactly. We should probably address another common concern, changes in, testicular size.
Yeah.
And that whole sagging situation.
Oh, yes. The dreaded sag.
WebMD did not hold back on the visuals for that one.
No, they did not. But again, it's all about understanding what's going on underneath.
Right. So what is going on?
Well, for starters, testicular shrinkage is often linked to those declining testosterone levels we talked about.
Okay, so it's that same hormone at play.
Mm-hmm. And that can also impact sperm production, by the way.
Oh, interesting. So there are some fertility implications there.
Potentially, yeah. As for the sagging, well, it's kind of like what happens with skin elsewhere on the body.
Like gravity takes over.
In a way, yeah. Reduced muscle tone and skin elasticity play a role.
So what about those creams and lotions that promise to, lift and tighten everything up? Do those actually work?
We can get into those quick fixes a little later.
Okay, fair enough.
But I will say, be skeptical. A healthy lifestyle exercise, good diet, those are going to be your best bet for supporting muscle tone and skin health overall.
Yeah, that makes sense. And speaking of changes down there, what about sensitivity? Does that change with age too?
It can, but it's a gradual thing, like most of these changes.
Okay, so it's not like overnight everything feels different.
Right. And it's really important to remember that rougher stimulation isn't the answer.
Oh, right. That could actually make things worse, couldn't it?
It could. You could end up with discomfort, even injury.
So communication with your partner becomes even more important, I guess.
Definitely. Talk about what feels good, what doesn't. That open communication is key for a good sex life at any age, really.
Absolutely. And I guess, speaking of which, we need to talk about erectile dysfunction, or ED, at some point.
Right, we do. It's a big one.
And I think WebMD gave us a pretty eye-opening statistic. 70% of men experience ED by age 70.
That's a significant number, for
Yeah.
sure.
So it's clearly something a lot of guys are going to deal with at some point.
It is. But the good news is it's treatable.
Oh, that is good news. So there's hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Awareness is key. If you're experiencing ED, don't hesitate to talk to a doctor. There are lots of treatment options out there.
Okay, good to know. So it's not something to be embarrassed about or, try to ignore.
Absolutely not. It's about taking control of your health and getting the help you need.
I think that's a perfect segue into our next part, actually.
There are two.
Where we'll dive into, the emotional and psychological impacts of all these changes.
Because those are real, too.
Oh, yeah. It's not just about the physical stuff. There's a whole mental and emotional component to this.
Definitely. We'll get into how societal pressures and self-image play a role and how to cope with those feelings.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
Okay, so welcome back. In part one, we got into all the nuts and bolts of the physical changes that guys might see as they get older.
Right. Yeah.
But now we need to talk about the elephant in the room.
Emotional side of things.
Exactly, because, let's face it, for a lot of men, these changes can be like a huge source of anxiety.
Oh, absolutely. It's understandable, right? We live in a society that put so much emphasis on, penis size.
Like it's equated with masculinity and virility and all that.
Exactly. And, sexual prowess. And these expectations, they're just not realistic for most guys.
Right. So it's like you're dealing with these physical changes, but then you're also dealing with all this societal baggage.
It's like a double whammy.
Yeah. So what do we do about that? Like, how can guys navigate those emotional hurdles? Because it can't be easy.
Well, the Psychomastery video, they had some really good advice about that. They talked about the importance of communication.
Okay, so like talking it out.
Exactly. Talking to your partner, a therapist, even just close friends, anyone you trust.
Just getting those feelings out in the open.
Yeah. Because bottling things up, that just makes the anxiety worse.
Right. And it can make you feel really isolated, like you're the only one going through this.
Exactly. And that's the thing, you're not alone. A lot of men experience these changes and struggle with the same emotions.
So talking about it can be really helpful.
Huge. It can help you feel less alone, less ashamed.
And it can also help your partner understand what you're going through.
Absolutely. And I think another really important point that the video made was that a fulfilling sex life is about way more than just penis size.
Okay, so there's more to it than just the physical aspect.
So much more. It's about connection, intimacy, communication, trust, all those things.
And those things become even more important as we age, right?
They do. Because, physical changes are going to happen. But that doesn't mean the end of a good sex life.
Right. So how can men, cultivate those other aspects of a relationship? What can they actually do?
Well, I think it starts with shifting your focus. Like, instead of focusing on size, focus on the qualities that really matter in a relationship.
So like what? Give me some examples.
Sure. Active listening, emotional support, shared experiences, just being present with your partner.
And being open about what you want and need.
Absolutely. Communicating your desires, your fantasies, your fears.
Yeah, all of that. Basically just talking to each other.
Exactly. And, exploring different avenues of intimacy doesn't always have to be about intercourse.
Okay, so like what else is there?
Oh, tons of stuff. Cuddling, kissing, massage, mutual masturbation. All of those can be incredibly intimate and pleasurable.
So it's about broadening your definition of what sex can be.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And finding joy in all those different forms of connection.
right. And I guess all of that leads to, this idea of self-acceptance, like accepting the fact that our bodies change as we get older.
It's huge. Because fighting against those changes, that just leads to frustration, disappointment.
So how can men start to, accept those changes, especially when we're bombarded with these messages that, youth equals vitality?
Well, I think it's about challenging those societal norms, like aging isn't a failure.
Yeah, it's just a natural part of life.
Exactly. It's actually a privilege. It's a time of growth, wisdom, and, really getting to know yourself.
So instead of fearing it, we can view it as a natural evolution.
Exactly. And remember, a man's worth isn't tied to his physical appearance. It's about his character, his relationships, the things he contributes to the world.
Right. So it's about shifting that focus from external validation to like internal self-worth.
Exactly. And I think it's important to acknowledge the role of partners in all of
Oh,
this.
yeah, absolutely. A supportive partner can make a huge difference.
Huge. Like just having someone who loves and accepts you for who you are, regardless of any physical changes.
Right. So what does that support actually look like? Like, how can partners help?
It's about being there for each other, being understanding, reassuring your partner, telling them they're still attractive, still desirable.
And focusing on the qualities that you love about them.
Exactly. And, remembering that you're in this together.
Because chances are your partner is experiencing their own age-related changes too.
Exactly. So it's about navigating those changes as a team.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier. Those societal norms around masculinity. Like the video really emphasized the importance of challenging those narrow definitions.
It's so important. We need to have more open dialogues about this stuff.
Right, because those narrow definitions, they're harmful.
They are. They create unrealistic expectations and put so much pressure on men.
So how do we change that? Like, how do we promote a healthier view of aging and masculinity?
Well, it starts with challenging those ingrained beliefs that, equate masculinity with physical strength and youthfulness.
Right, like we need to broaden the definition of what it means to be a man.
Exactly. There are so many ways to be a man, and we need to celebrate that diversity.
And we need to recognize that strength and confidence can manifest in, all sorts of ways.
Absolutely. It's not just about physical attributes.
So instead of buying into this narrative of decline, we can embrace the idea that aging can actually be a time of, continued growth and self-discovery.
Exactly. It's about reframing those negative perceptions and celebrating the wisdom, experience, and depth that comes with age.
Right. Okay, so we've talked a lot about, the emotional and societal pressures around this topic. But before we jump into, potential solutions and strategies,
Right.
I want to address one more thing that I think can be really tough for men to talk about. Body image.
Ah, yes. Body image. It's a big one.
It is, and it's something that, can be really affected by these age-related changes.
For sure. And I think it's important to acknowledge that we live in a culture that's obsessed with youth and, these idealized images of male beauty.
Right. And those images are everywhere. In magazines, movies, on social media.
Everywhere. And they create these unrealistic expectations that are just impossible for most men to live up to.
And I imagine that can be even harder as men age and their bodies naturally change.
Absolutely. Can lead to feelings of inadequacy, shame, even self-loathing.
So what can men do to cope with those negative body image thoughts? Like, how can they start to feel better about themselves?
Well, I think the first step is recognizing that those idealized images are just that. Idealized, they're not real.
Right. They're airbrushed, photoshopped, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that your body is your own. It's unique, and it's got its own story to tell.
And that story is valuable, regardless of what society might say.
Absolutely. So instead of comparing yourself to those impossible standards, try to focus on appreciating your body for what it is.
Like for its strength, its functionality, its ability to experience pleasure.
Exactly. And, if you're really struggling with body image issues, it might be helpful to talk to a therapist.
Okay, so professional help can be an option.
Yeah. A therapist can help you challenge those negative thoughts and develop a more positive relationship with your body.
Right. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from societal pressures to emotional impacts, even body image,
Selective process.
It is. But I think the main takeaway is that aging is a natural process, and it doesn't have to mean the end of a good sex life.
Exactly. With the right information, self-care, and communication, you can continue to experience pleasure and intimacy throughout your life.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned for part 3, where we'll delve into some potential solutions and strategies for managing these changes.
We'll talk about lifestyle modifications, treatment options for ED, and the importance of, intimacy beyond intercourse.
It's going to be good stuff. So don't go anywhere. All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive. We've talked about the science, the emotions, the whole societal pressure cooker around all these changes. Now, let's shift gears a bit. What can guys actually do about all of this? Like, how can they manage these changes and, still have a healthy and fulfilling sex life as they get older?
Well, it really starts with taking a holistic approach to your health,
Mm-hmm.
which we touched on earlier a bit. Remember those lifestyle factors we talked about?
Yeah, like exercise and diet and all that.
Right. Exercise, diet, stress management, sleep. Those aren't just good for your overall health. They're crucial for sexual health, too.
Right, it's all connected. But remind me, how do those things actually make a difference when it comes to, sexual function?
Okay, so let's start with exercise. Regular physical activity, it boosts your circulation, which is, super important for getting and maintaining your erection.
Oh, so it's like getting that blood flowing.
Exactly. And it also helps, increase testosterone levels and maintain a healthy weight, both of which are good for sexual vitality.
So getting that heart pumping is a win-win, basically.
Okay, pretty much for your heart and, well, other parts.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so what about diet?
Diet. A balanced diet that's, rich in fruits, vegetables, lean protein, healthy fats, gives your body the building blocks it needs for, hormone production and just overall health.
So you are what you eat, basically.
In a way, yeah. And there are even certain foods that have been linked to, improved sexual function.
Like what?
Things high in zinc, antioxidants, stuff like that.
Interesting. So it's about fueling your body with the right stuff, not just for your overall health, but for your, your performance too.
Exactly. And speaking of performance, we can't forget about stress.
Ah, yes. Stress. The silent killer.
It can really wreak havoc on your hormone levels, including testosterone. So finding healthy ways to manage stress, whether it's meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, whatever works for you.
It can actually make a difference.
A big difference, yeah.
I think a lot of guys don't realize how much stress can affect their, their sexual health.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge factor.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's sleep.
Sleep. We all need more of it.
Don't we all? But seriously, quality sleep is so important for hormone regulation and just overall rejuvenation. When you're sleep deprived, your body produces more of that stress hormone, cortisol.
Oh, cortisol. That's the bad one, right?
It's not great for testosterone levels, let's put it that way.
So aiming for those 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
Yeah, it's not just about feeling rested. It's about keeping those hormones in check.
Right, right. Okay, so those are some good general tips. But what about, more specific solutions for like actual changes in size or function?
Okay, well, for guys who are concerned about, perceived size changes because of weight gain, remember that Cosmetic Connection article?
Yeah, yeah.
It had a pretty simple solution. Reduce pubic fat.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense.
It's kind of an optical illusion thing. You trim down the fat around the base of the penis, and it can actually make a difference visually.
So you're not actually changing the size of the penis itself.
No, but you're changing how it looks.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so what about guys who are dealing with erectile dysfunction? Which, we talked about being more common as we get older.
Right. And for that, there are actually a lot of treatment options available.
Like what?
Well, there are medications, of course, and lifestyle changes. Sometimes therapy can help.
Okay, so there's a range of things that can be done.
There is. And it's really important to, talk to a doctor to figure out what's causing the ED in the first place.
Right, because it could be different things for different guys.
Exactly. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. But the good news is that, ED is treatable.
Yeah, that's huge. And it's not something to be embarrassed about.
No, not at all. It's a medical condition, and it's something that a lot of men experience.
Yeah. So seeking help is important.
It is. It's a sign of strength, actually, taking control of your health. Okay, I like that. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about something that the Psychomastery video really emphasized, and that's intimacy beyond intercourse.
Oh, yeah, that's so important.
It is. Because, as we get older, our bodies change, our desires might change,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean the end of pleasure or intimacy, right?
Absolutely not.
Right.
There's so many ways to be intimate with a partner.
So, like, what kinds of things are we talking about?
Well, cuddling, kissing, massage, mutual masturbation, all of those can be really fulfilling.
It's like expanding your definition of what sex can be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And finding joy in those different forms of connection.
And I guess communication is really key here, too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Talking to your partner about what you need, what you want, what feels good.
It's about being open and honest
Exactly.
and being vulnerable.
And, being supportive of each other's needs and desires.
Exactly, because those might change over time, and that's okay.
Right. It's a journey you're taking together. It is. All right, so we've explored a lot of different solutions and strategies here.
We have. But I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to self-acceptance, right?
Self-acceptance and embracing the fact that, our bodies change as we age.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean we're any less worthy or any less capable of, experiencing pleasure and intimacy.
Exactly. It's about shifting our focus away from, those anxieties about size or performance.
And focusing on the things that really matter.
Yeah, the connection, the intimacy, the joy of being with someone you care about.
And, celebrating the wisdom and experience that comes with age.
Absolutely. Aging is a privilege, not a punishment.
I love that. So, with the right mindset, a commitment to self-care, you can navigate these changes and still have a great sex life.
Absolutely. And I think that's really the takeaway message here. Aging doesn't have to mean the end of a fulfilling and satisfying sex life.
It's just a new chapter.
Exactly. A new chapter with its own unique challenges and opportunities.
Awesome. Well, that brings our deep dive to a close. We've covered a lot of ground, but hopefully you found it, informative and maybe even a little bit liberating.
Yeah, we hope so.
So remember, you're not alone in this journey.
Nope, you're not.
Embrace the changes, celebrate your journey, and keep exploring those possibilities.
Absolutely.
All right, that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.